Okay, so we're having a bit of a day out, coming to get some Renault bits from down here in Worthing. I've just had a bit of an eye up on this lovely, absolutely gorgeous 1967 and 68 Renault Caravelle. It's got exactly the same engine from Renault 12 as my Renault 10 has got. And it's also got this twin choke carburettor like mine has got, the Weber one. Now, big difference you'll notice is the fact this one's actually got the choke set up on it, whereas mine isn't. I've just left mine be because Weber's you can just double tap the throttle and it starts, so not worried about that. Anyway, what we're looking at is the air filter. So recent videos have been about the issue I've been having with it running a bit rough when it's hot. Now the issue is, mine's obviously got a little pancake here, and all the heat for the engine builds up here in the top end of the engine. As heat does, it rises, and it just, that's all it has to suck in because there's nothing to direct any cold air in. Now this is the correct air box for Weber carburettor on a rear engine car. You'll notice here we've got this induction piece here. This here is where the cold air is dragged via vacuum through and in to do the radiator. It comes out the bottom like it does on my car. Now, the difficult part is, my carburettor came with this base part here, but not with the top half. So, but I have got a Mark 1.5 top half that fits it. So here's where it gets interesting. Taking this one off, and basically what we want to do is we want that base of the Weber that I've got on the Mark 1.5 top half together. So I've then got an outlet here that I can then run a pipe to here, so we then get the nice cold air feed that comes through the car rather than the hot air in here, so then it runs nicely in hot weather as well as cold. Because today's a lovely cold day and it's not been having any issues whatsoever. It's been running beautifully perfect. So let's not rabble on too much more. This is a bracket here that I couldn't fathom this bit out, but now it makes perfect sense. A few pennies have dropped, not gonna lie. So what we've got here is, that's the base of the Weber. That is the rubber gasket and the metal piece that goes on top of it. Hold it all nice and down, all airtight. What we've got here is a bracket, and what I've just done is, that bracket allows the lid that's got a hole in it to be tightened down with a wing nut. And basically what I'm going to do is, I've just taken loads of measurements, and I'm going to use what I've got at home to absolute advantage and make one up from what I've got, which will then allow me to have my base, the top half, all that stuff, and then this pipe here, which will then mean that hopefully when the weather comes back nice and hot like it has been the last couple of weeks, the car runs nicely when it's hot as well as when it's cold. Right, so you haven't heard from me for a little while. I'll make this quick because I've only got 5 minutes of footage to go. So a friend of mine down in Brighton, who deals a lot in Renault parts, today obviously can't do much with social distancing, but I can go down and see him to pick up a few bits and keep a distance. So today, this fine steed has done 220 miles to Brighton and back, including doing some running around in Brighton to different places. I'm absolutely delighted because obviously it's been nice cold weather today. The issue I've had with the fuel vaporisation because of hot air intake hasn't been a problem. It's been nice and cold, it's just been getting a nice feed. The wipers have done damn well considering the single speed, and they're not very fast because it's had quite a bit of weather to contend with as well. But the most impressive part to me is I filled this car up this morning. It was on 19477, and I've got back, refilled it up, and it was 19688. It's only taking 22 litres petrol. I'm going to calculate that, but I think from rough mathematics it's not bad considering it's a twin choke Weber carburettor. So I'm quite impressed with that, really. So yeah, really happy. He's running absolutely beautifully. He's got a little bit of an oil leak, but we'll deal with that at some point. Yeah, he's running sweet as a nut. Absolutely glorious. I really could not be happier with myself and this car right now, because, well, this is the longest run this car has done since the engine rebuild. So I can now safely say I'm really happy with this engine. I'm really proud of myself. So hope you enjoy this little instalment. No doubt I'll probably go through the parts a little bit and show you some of what I've got. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the instalment, and I'll speak to you soon. Don't forget to follow Instagram, subscribe YouTube, and keep in touch for the updates. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Right, so this is our Solex top half of an air filter, which is for a Mark 1.5. And then we've got, that's the air filter that goes, that's the element that goes inside that one. And this is the Weber air filter base that came with the carburetor itself. Now what I'm going to do is, as per the Renault Caravelle I saw a couple of days ago, I'm going to make up a bracket that goes across those two holes there, with it bolted onto the carburetor. Made a couple of marks on here so far, just to get a rough idea of how big a piece I need to cut off of here. And we're just going to stick it in a metal bender, make a few bends in the right places, and essentially it's going to be flat up, flat along, and then down. So it's effectively going to be basically 4 bends, 2 like that, and then the other 2 across the top. So yeah, I'm going to crack on, and I'll show you when I've finished. Okay, well, I just thought I'd show you what we're doing tonight. We're fitting the air filter at long last. So we've got the Weber air filter base, like so. Got this bracket that I made up after I'd seen the same thing on a Renault Caravelle that Paul Cullen was working on in his workshop. Basically just 4 little folds, stud going through, which I made out of a bolt and a nut. So, yep. And then we've got the top half here, which is actually off of a Solex air filter. That if you flip the Weber base over, like I have, it all fits together nicely. The element was a little bit of an interesting one to try and find, because they come in all different heights, widths and all sorts, so it was a case of measure it and see what we can do. And after a little bit of digging, I actually posted a couple of Renault Super 5 1 litre and 1100 air filters on, which are basically in a plastic housing that is sealed solid, so you have to replace the whole thing as a disposable unit. This is actually the element that came out from inside one. Went to offer it up, and it fits absolutely bang on. Yeah, this literally goes straight on like so. Voila. And then we get a little washer and nut here. Do need a bit of a wash up because I look absolutely hideous against a nice shiny black air filter, I think you'll agree. So do I. It's okay. No offence taken. If we give that a little nick down like so. Just make sure there's no play in it. That'd be alright. Job done. Right. Shall we hear it running and see how it sounds? Because I have no idea how it's going to sound, this air filter on it, to be quite frank with you. Oh, that does sound rather nice, doesn't it? That does sound rather nice. Woohoo! I think the exhaust has started blowing down, but yep. Yes, there's a very, very minor little leak on that. Yeah, you can even hear the back little back pop. So yeah, happy days on that one. Not bad at all. That's a really nice happy job actually. It's really nice and presentable, I think you'll agree. So just to refresh your memory, the reason why all this little lot's been done, and apologise for the flash, it just got off because apparently my battery's a bit low. Basically we've got all this tube in here that you can see, it's all nice and shiny, and the air filter. And also if you look just here, just that little white bit there, that's a heat insulating spacer. And basically the whole problem we had was, this is obviously a massive inferno in here. These fuel lines would basically get really heated up by all the heat in here, and all the petrol inside them would then start to boil and vaporise. And at the same time, where the carburetor is on this base here, can't see this very well, so it's not ideal, never mind. Basically, the heat insulating spacer basically provides an insulating layer between the manifold and the carburetor to isolate it from all the heat, to kind of keep it cool. Now, I put that in and isolated the fuel and insulated the fuel lines, as you've seen, and it was still not quite how I wanted it, still playing around a bit. So what I've done is, as well, there's normally a fuel water line running through the base of the carburetor where these two terminals are here, and I basically have bypassed those with the intention that if the engine's running 85 degrees on the cooling system and the carburetor has fuel in it that will boil underneath that temperature, why do you want 85 degrees running through the base of the carburetor above the heat spacer, which are then going to heat the petrol up anyway? So I've isolated that, so now the carburetor is as cool as it's ever going to be. And yeah, I've just literally just bypassed that pipe, so I'll just leave that as it is now. So yeah, and what else was I going to mention? Can't remember now. So initially we had 40 degrees on the fuel line up here, and it would be 75 by the time it got to here. Now I did a little bit of research. It's more a matter of opinion from what I can find, but basically the extra ethanol now being put in modern petrol means that it boils at a lower point, and therefore I think I found a figure in the variation of from 35 degrees. So if we think that it was from 40 up to 75 at this end, so we've isolated the carburetor and we've protected these lines as much as we possibly can to try and help the issue. And the last part of the issue was, where this is a great big inferno, as I've mentioned, the old air filter type, which is just over here if I guess it for you, sat like that, and as you can see there's nothing to actually direct it, it just sucks in air from all over the joint. And the trouble with that is, you look at all this heat up top here and it's just sucking it in, there's no cold cool air that's more dense, so consequently it starts to struggle, and then it starts to misbehave and not want to idle at all. And this bit was quite sort of cracked really, on a night where I took it for a nice drive, and it was sort of as nice and cool as it's got to now today, and took it for a nice run, and it was evident how much better it ran in the cooler weather, cooler temperature, with nice cold airflow being sucked in. You've got this hole here that is meant for the job, because it was original how this is supposed to be set up. Basically, where you've got the air coming down here, now apparently in the wind tunnel, the reason why this has got an under tray that you cannot not have on there is because it creates a natural vacuum, and it basically sucks the air through here, through the radiator and out the bottom. So, and then the fan, you can actually get away with the fan not being there. So, but the fan's there, assists pulling the cold air through. But the point I'm making is, cold air that's being dragged through gets sucked into here and sucked into there, which is nice cold air that helps with combustion. And therefore, hopefully, this is the last piece of the puzzle, and on a nice hot day we can take it for a nice drive, and besides when it's maybe sat idling or it's turned off for a little while and all the heat rises to the carburetor and boils the fuel and vaporises it off, it's going to run a lot better, and be a lot happier in general. So yeah, overall, hopefully it's all going to work, but to be honest with it, this just looks a lot better anyway, so really happy with that. So thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll be able to give you some good news very soon once I've got a pipe on here and take it for a good test run. Won't be tonight though. See you, thanks a lot, bye.